Good evening, and welcome to episode 1 of the Fush exception book. Each week, we will be reading the Fush exception book. The purpose of this podcast is to drill into your brain each exception when it comes to playing Fush. Without further ado, allow me to take a sip of water as we begin. Exception 1. An ace cannot be trumped, except by the opposite colored 2, in which case the ace is worth 0, loses its trump quality, and cannot win in a straight. Exception 2. If a player wins a trick with a 2, they must jog around the table or playing area repeatedly, saying 2, while holding up 2 fingers, thumbs do not count, or else the other team wins the trick. If this coincides with exception 9, both players must do this. The exception does not apply if you are playing in a car. Exception 3. In the event of straight, the lowest value card wins the trick, and trump is void. Exception 4. If all 4 cards played are trump suit, face cards are worth 0. This includes aces. Exception 5. If all 4 suits are played in a trick, the first team to give the other a high 5 wins the trick. There must be palm-on-palm contact, which sounds awkward. No hovering. Exception 6. A black 7 will beat a red 8, and a red 7 will beat a black 8, unless a 6 is in play, in which case both 7 and 8 are worth 5. This cannot overrule trump. Clarification. If a black 6, black 7, red 8, black 9 straight occurs, the 7 will win. More clarification. If a black 5, black 6, black 7, red 8 straight occurs, the 5 will win. Exception 7. A 7 will make a jack have the value of 0, unless both the 7 and the jack are trump suit. Clarification. If the jack is trump suit and the 7 is not, the jack has the value of 0, but is still winning because it's trump suit. It will, however, be beaten by any other trump suit. Exception 8. If 2 of the same cards are played in a row, the second card played will take preference, unless the player of the first card says ka-ching, cash register noise, along with the appropriate inverted fist bump, unless one of the cards is trump. You still can, but it's unnecessary. If this occurs with 6s, the player of the first card must make hissing sounds and make devil horns instead. Exception 9. If a team plays 2 cards of the same color and number, it beats all non-face cards. Clarification. If both teams do this, then the team with the higher number wins the trick. Exception 10. If playing between the hours of 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., and from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., the team with the least amount of tricks wins the points. Clarification. Standard time. It happens twice per day. Exception 11. If a 3 of a kind occurs, the trump suit will change to the suit not in the 3 of a kind for the next trick. Exception 12. If a card is worth 0 2 or more times, all the other exceptions are void and it wins the trick, except exception 5. High 5 still apply. Exception 13. If playing under the age of 14, the player must announce so before the start of each round, or else they lose 1 trick. Exception 14. If a team earns more than 3 points in a round, they must give the other a high 5, or else the other team earns the points. Exception 14. If a player earns more than 3 points in a round, they must give the other a high 5 or else the other team earns the points. This cannot be done to make the other team go over. Clarification. If a team doesn't high 5, the other team does not need to high 5. This is to prevent an infinite loop of refusal. Exception 15. If playing on Saturday or in a tournament, players must have the option to say the Pledge of Allegiance or sing the respective country's national anthem if not in the US before the start of the game. Exception 16. Upon winning, the winning team must shake hands with the losing team, or else they lose 2 points. The handshake cannot be avoided. Exception 17. In the extremely rare event of all 4 cards being the same, every exception is suspended, and the winner of the next trick wins both. Exception 18. The dealer may choose, before dealing, to call out a card to have a value of 0 for the round. It could still be used to make a partner win, like in Exception 9. Exception 19. If a player wins 3 tricks in a row, their face cards are with 0 for the next 3 tricks. This carries over rounds. Exception 20. In the event of a double Hinderdergen, the game shall enter a Tetra bypass confrontation, which will be settled through the appointment of a Durchgedur. Exception 20 English version. In the event of 2 teams high-fiving at the same time, the winner will be decided by someone who is not watching and will not have a biased opinion. Or you could just flip a coin, but it's not as fun. Exception 21. If playing while it's raining, the trump card switches to the opposite suit of the same color. This could be hell on Wednesdays. Exception 22. After the cards are dealt and before the first card is played, if a player holds a 4 of a kind, they do not have to, show all 4 cards to the other players in order to earn a point. If this is done with 2s, the player must follow Exception 2, going around the table or playing area 4 times, once for each 2. Exception 23. Non-verbal messages sent between partners must be concise, of at least 3 different signals. For example, one cannot simply knock on the table thrice. Exception 24. If there are more than 2 onlookers present during the entire trick, 4s are worth double plus 0.01. Meaning they're now worth 8.01. If playing with Bob, this applies with 3s being worth 6.01 instead. If live streaming, every 20 people watching count as 1 onlooker. Exception 25. If there is an onlooker who is insistent on learning by watching and not playing, the players may decide to make new exceptions specifically for that game to further confuse the onlooker. And that does it for the exceptions for this episode. Please join us next week. Stay tuned, and have a good night.